Okay, thank you everyone for joining us today. We are going to get started. My name is Sarah Worsey, and I am the marketing manager here at Sentia. Before we get started, I just want to remind everybody that all attendees are automatically muted. If you do have any questions during the session, please share them in the chat window or in the Q&A section, and they will be addressed at the end. So today's session centers around navigating today's cybersecurity landscape for nonprofits. We posed this question here: what's one digital tool or platform your organization couldn't live without and why? And we got some great answers in the chat, so thank you for that. We posed this question to emphasize the importance of our digital tools to our day-to-day lives and business operations, and how critical it is for us to protect these systems, hence the purpose of today's session. Particularly for nonprofits, protecting donor data, safeguarding sensitive information, and ensuring operational continuity are critical to maintaining trust and delivering on purpose. So our goal with today's session is to make cybersecurity approachable for organizations like yours and explore practical strategies to strengthen your defenses, even with minimal resources. So let's get right into it. So the agenda for today's session is as follows. We will begin with an introduction to the speakers, followed by an overview of Sentia and a brief introduction from the ONN. Next, we'll explore how Cynet is working to secure nonprofits through collaborative efforts, and then we'll dive into Sentia's insights on data governance and compliance, tailored for nonprofit organizations. After these discussions, we'll move into a call to action. We'll open the floor for Q&A, and we will conclude with closing remarks. So about the speakers today, we are going to have a few words from Pamela Uppal-Sandhu, who is the Director of Policy and Interim and is the Director of Policy and Co-Executive Director at the Ontario Nonprofit Network. We will then hear from Kevin Davey, who is a security engineer at Cynet. And then we will close off the session with Victor Yosevich, who is Sentia's Microsoft practice lead, who will get into data governance and compliance insights. So I'm sure Sentia is a new name to virtually everybody on the call today. So a brief overview about us. Sentia is a trusted Canadian leader in high-value IT solutions, headquartered in Richmond Hill, Ontario. We have 18 years of proven expertise and a global footprint spanning 22 countries. Our strength essentially lies in our people, with a passionate team of 40 professionals that include 24 technical specialists committed to delivering innovative technology solutions. From cybersecurity, of course, and data protection to hybrid cloud, AI, and beyond, we provide cutting-edge services backed by our robust portfolio of managed and professional offerings. What really sets us apart from the competition is our unique ability to conceptualize, design, implement, and manage our full suite of solutions while acting as an extension of your team in driving innovation, security, and compliance with confidence. So a few of our active customers that we wanted to highlight today, these are some examples of nonprofit organizations that we currently work with. So that is a true testament to our dedication to the industry. Collectively, with MasterCard Foundation, World Vision, and Cass Sudbury, we have about a 15+ relationship with all three of these. So we just wanted to emphasize our commitment to this sector for you today. And I'm going to pause for a second here and pass it over to Pam, who is going to say a few words on behalf of the ONN. Pam, over to you.
Thank you so much, Sarah, and thank you, Sentia, for supporting the nonprofit sector and putting this webinar on. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. I can see people are popping in as the day has gotten started. Please do put in the chat where you're calling in from, which organization. I see some familiar names, but would love to know who's in the room. As Sarah shared, my name is Pamela Uppal-Sandhu. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Director of Policy and the Interim Co-Executive Director at Ontario area nonprofit network. I've been here for 8 years, but I've been the interim co-ED for the last year and a half, almost 2 years. And so this topic that we're talking about today is something that we're living right now at ONN, as we sort of really think about our own internal data governance practices, what kind of data we're stewarding, what data do we keep, and not just, data about our employees, but data about our volunteers, our board of directors, data that our members, some of you are in the room that share with us, data that is our state of the sector survey, our member data, our funder data, all of that. We're really thinking deeply about how do we safeguard that? How do we protect that information? And some of you might know we're a very small team. So when someone says, hey, like your IT department's probably looking at that, and we're like, no, I am IT, which I know is the experience of many of you in the room. We get emails and calls all the time for nonprofits really diving into this space now because the moment is calling for it. We know demand for our programs and services are through the roof. We know resources are either staying the same or declining based on kind of the work that you're doing. And we know that the capacity to do that digitization, cybersecurity, data governance work is not there. It's very hard to recruit or retain people in those spaces. And so this is our sort of offering back to the network to build that capacity and have you thinking about some really important things that you can and should put in place to safeguard the information you're stewarding for people. And I think the last thing I'll sort of end off on is some of the stats that I just shared were from our State of the Sector survey. But one of the trends we've highlighted in our State of the Sector survey this year is this sort of accelerated movement to adapt and adopt AI to digitize even more than the pandemic, and it being offered as a solution to the increasing demand and decreasing resources problem our organizations are facing. And I think our offering today is to really have you think critically about that, and to choose solutions and to choose a path and a journey that works for you and your values. So welcome, and I'm looking forward to this conversation just like everybody else. And yes, please continue sharing where you're calling in from. I love seeing folks from across the province. Thank you. Back to Sarah.
Awesome. Thank you, Pam. That was great. Thank you very much. Okay, so moving right along. So we just wanted to quickly highlight Sentia's partnership with Cynet. So Cynet is a cybersecurity firm based out of Boston, Massachusetts, and they specialize in delivering autonomous breach protection in an all-in-one unified platform. And we have been a proud partner of Cynet for the last 5 years, and we look forward to having you hear their insights momentarily. And with that said, I'd like to move it over to our first poll of the session. So if you give me one moment, I'm going to actually launch the poll and you'll see it on your screen. Give me one moment here. Okay. All righty. Okay. Let's see. I hope that you can see that. If you can, please take part in the poll, and then you might have to just click the X button for it to move away from your screen. Excellent. Thank you so much. Okay, so we have an overwhelming response of somewhat confident. So that's great. That says that there's some level of confidence, but there's definitely room for improvement, which is a great segue into our next session. And I'm going to now pass the baton to Kevin Davey from Cynet. Kevin, over to you.
Awesome. Appreciate that. Nice to meet everybody. Introducing myself here, as you can see, with Cynet as a sales engineer. Been with Cynet a little over a year now, but been in the cybersecurity space for about a decade, and even before that, leading a few different IT teams. So been all on all sides of the table here. If you want to advance to the next slide. Essentially, where Cynet addresses cybersecurity challenges in the frame of nonprofit organizations we have here on this slide representing, just the different challenges that we found, nonprofit organizations are running into, relying on small teams or volunteers that are running those cybersecurity teams with limited cybersecurity expertise, legacy systems because of lack of budget or whatever, legacy systems trying to keep up with the pace of new cybersecurity threats, trying to keep up with the ever-evolving cybersecurity landscape, sensitive donor and beneficiary data targeted by phishing and ransomware, right? Everybody's really under the microscope, and increasing compliance, data privacy, and cybersecurity insurance requirements. So that's a big one that we see a lot. And finally, limited budgets and competing priorities across mission critical programs. So with this, really what we bring from Cynet is a unified platform, right? It is bringing together endpoint protection, user behavior analytics, network detection and response, a SOC team I'll speak more to, consolidated log management, SIM, bunch of tools under one roof so that we can give you extended visibility. Those tools can work together. They're all designed by Cynet so we can lower resources and really extend that power. We are a top performer in MITRE. If anyone's ever heard of MITRE, it's a nonprofit organization that was funded by U.S. grants and essentially takes submissions from the public and from everywhere of all the different types of attacks and things that have been happening. So then they built a list, and they call it the MITRE attack framework, of all the different types of attacks that could possibly happen and what they look like, what they do. And with that, now they have examples to be able to unleash on willing vendors, right? They have the worst of the worst stuff. So every year they do an evaluation where Cynet and many other vendors I'll say compete, but try to see what they can stop. And with zero configuration changes, we've blocked everything. We've seen everything, and we even had zero false positives in last year's results. So cool stuff there. And MITRE is one, is a big organization that folks like Sentia and others, cybersecurity professionals, lean on for that type of insight to the evaluations. The other thing that we're going to bring is the 24/7, 365 cybersecurity support of our SOC team. So that cybersecurity experts, those are teams that are around the clock, really watching the screens and dealing with this day in and day out, so they know how to act, how to respond. And our product is designed for them, so really built to scale up with them as well. Awesome. We can advance, moving on forward here. So this slide, just a couple of statistics just to bring it home. We got, only 7% of small and 15% of medium-sized Canadian nonprofits are aware of cybersecurity standards, and compared to 54% of larger ones. The bottom left, disruptive is cybersecurity incidents in Canada have tripled over 2 years. Like, this stuff is absolutely blowing up. The technology with AI, good for memes and pictures and stuff, but also having wreaked havoc on the cybersecurity landscape for sure. So definitely something going on with that. 28% of organizations report having suffered a successful ransomware attack in the past year. It's getting worse, and that's from 2024 annual survey. Nearly half of Canadian organizations reported being a victim of a cybersecurity attack in the past month. Again, a 2024 survey. We can bounce forward here. So essentially, what we've seen is this cybersecurity evolution. So it started off that only some things were online, right? Only the computers in the big offices they could afford it. And then they got the personal computers at home. And then we got computers in our hands with the smartphones. And then now it's the Internet of Things. Everything's going online. So you start to see this web of where information is accessing your organization's critical assets, your stuff that you really need to protect. And so you have all these different ways that attackers can now get at you, and they're called your attack surface, right? And these are all now things that you have to protect. So you can see on the outer layer are all the different types of attacks that have developed to hit the second layer, which is users, emails, endpoints, mobile, and such. And then the inner layer there with the bubbles is, what has been used by vendors to combat that. Email filtering to protect your email from exploits and phishing and social engineering, etc. Right? So this is just kind of showing how complex this landscape has become, where it started off being very basic, like, oh yeah, just put, antivirus on your computer and you scan it once per day to see if anything snuck on and you're all set. Right? Now we've got grocery stores using, sprayers, and those are automated on a timer that's controlled by a cloud, timer or whatever, so it could be corrupted and they could shut down and, destroy all our vegetables, right? There's just so much that has made this complexity of the cybersecurity landscape tricky, that we see evolving here today. Let's hit the next slide. So what Cynet has done is created a platform that addresses all these different threat vectors, right? Network, endpoint users, third-party systems like those iOS, Android, iPads, all the different ways that we're accessing your network. And with that, really bringing it all under one roof, we're cross-pollinating, we're sharing information. So oftentimes you find a common denominator of, XYZ was this originating process that hit all these other areas, and you can follow the breadcrumbs and kind of find out where things came from. So by having everything under one roof gives us the ability to really correlate and find things. We're able to see the entire the entire picture of a cyber attack, whereas most vendors are really only capturing a piece of the attack, one action that they performed, whereas every action that is done from a Cynet perspective is captured, right? From this as well, Cynet is able to build automation. We're building responses. We're making a scalable product. So the MITRE results show, like, out of the box, we're just going to block the worst of the worst things automatically, but you can then add your own responses, your own playbooks, and lots of customizations outside of that as well. Let's bounce on forward. This slide is to complement the technological side of Cynet. With, all our great technology comes that cybersecurity experts of the SOC team, right? So 24/7, 365, round the clock protection here. They also have the ability now to proactively isolate endpoints. So in the event that nobody can be reached in the off hours that attackers are often most active, that's going to be really when we're able to respond, right, and take action. So in the moments that are most critical there. So with this, molding together the computer and the human element to bring us that harmonious union with their 24/7, 365 SOC team. Awesome. This just shows a little peek into the platform, but also gives me a chance to talk about the monthly reporting that we can generate as well. So where we have a lot of visibility into the environment, we're also able to spit back, all the things that we're seeing. We can quantify, we can address, what needs to be done. And the reporting that we're able to produce in the executive summary, for example, can be done in a way that is less technical, right? Numbers and colors. I want to know when things are bad. I want to know when they're good. Don't confuse me with technical jargon, right? So I want to see the green lights and not red squares. In addition, here on the left-hand side, we can see some of the automation in the form of the autonomous responder, where in this example, we took 7 minutes to respond to an attack and take some additional actions out of the box. So pretty cool stuff there. Let's bounce on forward. So these are just some of the resources that we're providing as part of this. I'll let Sarah speak to that a little here.
Yeah, so this is just again, as Kevin reiterated, one of our resources that we're providing as part of our relationship with Cynet. And this is something that we are happy to provide everybody a copy of after the session for you to review in greater detail. Thanks, Kevin.
No problem. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you, Kevin, very much. That was great. So before we continue on, we have yet another poll. So I will launch this as I did the last one. If you can just give me one moment again. Alrighty. Okay, so the poll is, how familiar are you with the concept of data governance? A nice lead into our next section. Okay, so we have a kind of a mixed reaction. The majority are somewhat familiar, but not quite. There's an amount that are not familiar at all. Okay. Okay, good. So this is a great segue into our next section. Thank you, everybody, for your participation with that poll. Okay, so now we move on to data governance and compliance. So over to you, Victor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And thanks again, Kevin, for that insight. Cynet is a really great product that at a really great value point, especially with that SOC piece. There's no product I know on the market that has an integrated SOC. That's amazing, in my opinion. All right, so today I'm going to cover data governance and really why it has become, alongside with cybersecurity, one of the greatest threat vectors to non-for-profit organizations and really any organization that holds data and information. So we're very familiar with our organizations holding data, right? Everybody has everything from employee data, client data, and donor data. And it really becomes a attack vector for bad actors because it's kind of what everyone is going for. There's two real ways to get at a company. One is to get at its data, or two is to hold it ransom. And that's where you have the ransomware attacks. So why compliance matters? Well, we have a lot of limited resources when it comes to staff in the IT and even the cybersecurity sector. We have sensitive data, donor data, beneficiary data, all that's at risk. As we're evolving and more things are moving into cloud and technology, we have increased regulation requirements. Everything from PHIPAA, PIPEDA, GDRP for those that are working out of just Canada, PIPEDA, CRA, and really more that keeps coming on. And anyone who's dealt with the IPC knows that, you know, it's becoming a very sensitive matter for companies. We also have grant compliance and funding stipulations. Everything is being taken into account when now applying, and we have growing cybersecurity requirements as well, and cybersecurity insurances, which premiums, depending on what you have, can increase or decrease with what you have. And of course, with everything, we're always looking at our budget constraints and competing with mission goals. So we are well aware that every company has a dollar amount that they have to keep under, and really that's why we're here to help companies like yourselves to kind of meet those goals without breaking the bank. So Microsoft Purview is a great tool because it automates a lot of features such as data classification and protection. Gives you kind of a one pane of glass to see what's out there and what dark data you have. Dark data is really a industry phrase that we really use to define data that's out there, but we don't know where it is or who has it. We also have built-in compliance templates and assessments. We have AI-powered risk detection and prevention, simplified regulatory reporting, and affordable, scalable cloud solutions. And the best part is with Microsoft Purview, because like a lot of things Microsoft, you don't need to be a governance and compliance expert to use the tool. It's actually a very easy tool to pick up and use. So when we're looking at Microsoft Purview, we really want to know, what is Microsoft Purview? And to answer that question, it's really a unified data governance and compliance platform built for the cloud, so for Office 365, and can extend to your on-prem resources. But really the core of it is information protection, and that's through classification, labeling, protecting sensitive data across your organization automatically, and what, as Kevin said, your data estate. Data governance, so discovering, cataloging, managing data across O365, Azure, and your on-premise file servers, SQL databases, and even SharePoint. Compliance management to make sure that you meet regulatory requirements with built-in compliance assessments and reporting. Risk management to identify and mitigate insider risks, data leaks, and compliance violations. E-discovery, so you can search, preserve, export content for legal and audit requirements. And again, this is not backup. This is specifically for your retention policies and data lifecycle. Records management to manage retention schedules and ensure proper record keeping and practices, and more importantly, audit trails. And again, data lifecycle, which is becoming a key because any data past its buy and sell date turns from an asset to a liability. So what are we trying to protect? What is data governance and compliance looking at? Well, we want to protect your sensitive information. Now, the great thing about Purview is it's got built-in classifiers. So out of the box, you have over 230 classifiers that include credit card information, SIN numbers, donor information, health records, and more. And the great part is you can also train or come up with your own way of identifying data. So if you have certain formats to keep data in that you want to protect, you can modify it and, of course, create your own data label. Sensitivity labels. So sensitivity labels right now is becoming a must for any organization because it can apply visual markings, automatically encrypt, apply access control based on data sensitivity. And that means that with a data sensitivity label, you can prevent any outside users from seeing that data, even if it leaves your organization. So if somehow via USB drive or via an email it leaks, whoever's trying to open the document will still be unable to open it without verifying that they're an employee of your company. Data loss prevention. So we block accidental sharing of sensitive information via email, Teams, OneDrive, or even SharePoint. And again, that comes back to all that sensitivity labels and constant scanning and classification of data. And most basic, but most important, encryption. So we can automatically encrypt documents containing sensitive donor beneficiary data or even other data that we find critical. So if it does, again, get into the wrong hands, it cannot be viewed properly. All that really we look at if you're looking at a wheel, your confidential data, your sensitive data, you have your public data and your internal data, and all that makes your data estate. So when we're looking at data governance and discovery, that's kind of the first step is you always want to map your data or create what the industry calls a data map. Purview allows you to automatically discover and catalog data across your O365 platforms as well as your on-premise platforms. As again, extends onto your on-prem file servers, your SharePoint, your SQL databases, and you get that holistic view. Once we have that data and that holistic view of the map, then we can use data classification, which is a combination of rules and AI-powered classifiers for sensitive information, including PII, financial data, health records, even grant applications. And we use that for data insight. So at any time you have a one pane of glass dashboard that you can dive in to see exactly where your data is, how your data is moving through your organization, how much of the same data file is in email, how much is in SharePoint, and how much is on-prem file servers, for example. And of course, with all that, we can detect what we like to call shadow IT. And then data lineage. We really want to track the movement and transformation to ensure quality, support audits, and of course, identify inefficiencies and prevent leaks. Now, when we're moving into compliance management, as many of your organizations will probably have to adhere to, there is a part of Purview, which works with which works with your compliance management, that has built-in templates for PIPEDA, GDRP, ISO 27001, SOC 2, CRA compliance, payment credit card industries, healthcare, HIPAA, PHIPAA, and of course, custom templates that we can create as well. And the beautiful part is they're automatic assessments that are continuously monitoring and scoring your compliance posture. So you can get improvement actions out of that and prioritize recommendation actions, as well as a step-by-step on what to do on your tenant to make it more compliant and more secure. And of course, documentation and reporting, so you can be prepared for any meetings or any audits that come up. So you can document where you are today and keep going, as well as provide that to anyone that requires it. And of course, evidence collection. So we can automatically capture and store compliance evidence to show the process and the evolution of your industry. Now, after that, we're looking at risk and security management. So we want to proactively detect threats and really see, do we have any insider risk management? So any risky user behavior, including data exfiltration, unauthorized access, or policy violation. Then we want to lock down data with privileged access management. So we want to monitor and secure elevated permission to protect sensitive donor data or financial data or health data. And of course, communication compliance. So we want to monitor all our vectors to ensure that everything is being used properly, that no messages are violating or we have any inappropriate content that's going in or out of the organization, as well as if you have any requirements for communication barriers, we can do that as well. So the ROI, because I know that's the real reason that a lot of companies are looking at various technologies, the ROI really is very simple, right? So at first, it makes sense because one, Microsoft Purview is usually included with a lot of your license suite already. And you being non-for-profits get access to the higher class licenses at a great price. And Purview is included with everything from business premium to the e-licensing. It saves you time and reduces manual compliance work by up to 80%, reduces cost, avoiding breach, which on average costs companies 120 plus, not to mention reputation, quality of insurance to meet all the insurance requirements to not only qualify, but reduce the rate. Again, build trust so you can demonstrate commitment to donor protection, financial data and protection, and of course, health data protection. Win more grants because you demonstrate that you meet all the requirements and that you have the proper data structure, data policies and controls in place. And of course, allows you to focus on your mission. So less time on IT, more time on your impact. Now, I want to take you over to a real world case impact case that we've done. So we've been working with a lot of health specific NGOs and a lot of NGOs worldwide, obviously. One of them particularly is within the Northern Ontario area. And we took on this health clinic that is providing a lot of value to the community, but of course, IT has been one of the lacking factors. So we took them, migrated them to Office 365, and with that, we included all the mail migration, moving to SharePoint, OneDrive, modernized their entire outfit, and of course, threw in Microsoft Purview. And the beautiful part is that now that they have Microsoft Purview, they're able to apply for other industry compliance regulatory status, such as SOC 2 and so forth. And on top of that, they can now go back to the community and say, yes, we have taken the steps to not only protect the data, but enforce and control the data in a very controlled manner so that we know that even if a security event happens, your data is protected. And more importantly, your data is protected from insider risk. And that's really one of the great achievements that we'd like to point out that we have done for this clinic, which again, not massive, not a World Vision or MasterCard, but still every company in our eyes matters. So some of the resources that we're here to offer is, of course, compliance guides. So we do have downloads for non-for-profit data compliance handbooks, some things to try and do and so forth. We have a lot of training webinars that come up. So like this one, we're always offering for you to join us on webinars or free training classes, which we may host, and of course, expert consultants. So always feel free to contact us or Sarah for a free assessment of with your compliance team, and our team will be more than happy to meet with them and liaison and see how we can move your company to the next level. Sarah, I'll hand it over back to you.
Great. Thank you, Victor.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh.
Oh, I seem to have lost. Oh. Okay. Let me try that again. My apologies. Let's see. Okay. Okay, I'll just navigate. Can everybody see my screen? If you could just.
Yep. Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, I'm just going to bounce all the way to where we are at the call to action slide.
Yep.
All good. Okay, it's catching up. Okay, my apologies for this. Just bear with me. We're just bouncing right through. Okay. Wonderful. Okay. So I just want to thank Kevin and Victor again for your invaluable insights today. It was a great session. We hope that everybody benefited from the information that was shared. Just a quick recap of the specific call to actions that were mentioned. So again, we are offering a complimentary assessment, give you a chance to meet with Sentia's compliance experts to understand your current data governance posture and identify quick wins. On the Cynet front, we are happy to offer you a 14-day free trial for you to basically see firsthand how the tool actually works, giving you full visibility into its functionality so that you can gauge whether this would benefit your organization. And last but not least, we are also offering the opportunity for you to pilot Microsoft Purview, again, get a firsthand experience of how automated data discovery, classification, and protection can significantly transform your compliance efforts. And generally speaking, if you have any other IT needs that fall outside of this realm, we're more than happy to have a conversation with you as well. So thank you again. And with that, we'd like to open the floor for questions. And I've got two questions here. So Victor, there's a question for you, firstly. It was on one of your slides talking specifically to what data governance is. There was a question that was posed that what you're sharing, is this support that Sentia would be providing, or is this meant to be done by the end users themselves? If the person that posed the question, would you like to be, if you could be maybe a little bit, if you'd like to be more specific on what you were alluding to? It was one of your slides that was specifically on data governance. But just generally speaking, this is support that Sentia would be providing. But if you could perhaps elaborate a little bit more on that, just to clarify that, that would be great.
Sure. So the great part about Sentia and our organization is we're here to help you, right? So that means from either start to finish, end to end, or however works. We can be an advisory role, we can assist, or we can do the full end-to-end. So it all matters on what are your needs, what are your requirements. If you have your own crew, your own team, then we'd be more than happy to deploy it for you and hand it over. Or if you require aftercare fact as well, then of course we're more than happy to help you on that end as well. We do everything from professional services, consultations, advisory, to managed services.
Wonderful. Thank you, Victor. We've got another question here. How does
Yep.
data and digital sovereignty issues relate to these services? What are non-Microsoft-based tools/ecosystems that can also be supported?
Ooh, can we elaborate on that question? Are we talking about where the data is stored?
So this is, I'm happy to unmute the person that asked the question.
Sure.
It was Brenna. If you're comfortable with speaking, let me just see how I can easily. Yes, let's see. Yep. So Brenna, if you would like, I can allow your mic to elaborate on that question. Go ahead.
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you. Wonderful.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I kind of tried to edit it a little bit at the end. But yeah, I mean, right now in Canada, we're having a lot of conversations around issues of sovereignty, but also in terms of like tech stacks coming from the United States. And I think a lot of the issues around data governance and cybersecurity are super important. And the nonprofit sector is also very complex because you have organizations that have big budgets that can actually have Microsoft 365, but there are many projects that maybe haven't even gotten formal nonprofit status that hack together their own stack aside from the security issues. So there's that kind of complexity of data governance in the resources that we in the nonprofit world have, but then given the current concerns and also policy making, like the budget is increasing. The new budget for the federal government is looking at how would we have digital infrastructure sovereignty, and there's going to be, I think, funds for like projects that are trying to, make questions. Again, there's really no autonomous internet that we could have in Canada. So I guess I was wondering how could you just tease these out again, like that gets to some of the data questions, right? Like, where is the data hosted? Who is the AI trained by? There's all the questions of like proprietary information that Microsoft may have or may not. But even recently in Europe, like governments like Germany and a couple other ones, they're actually changing their platforms away from Microsoft because there's questions around legal access that Microsoft or the US government may have. So that's what I meant about the digital and data sovereignty, but particularly in Canada, like this is a question that we're looking at is like the tech stack. But I think it relates to cybersecurity because it seems like what the Sentia, sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong, program would be a way for nonprofits to kind of outsource some of the labor, which would make sense. Like there's a lot of the things you raise are valid for nonprofits, especially ones that work with, at-risk populations. So yeah, I don't know if there's one simple answer. Hope that is clear.
Sure. So yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Okay. So this is very common and I get that question a lot. So the good part is with the Microsoft platform, your data, if you explicitly design and assign it, would be stored in Canada. So Canada has 3 data centers, 2 main ones, and one popping up in Montreal. We have Canada East, which is in Ontario, actually. We have Canada West, which is in Vancouver. And then we have Montreal that's coming up as well. And those data centers are now the primary data centers for any Canadian data. So when you have your tenant, you can actually see where your data is stored. And you can, if done properly, when you set up the tenant, you should have designated Canada as your data center. If you haven't done that, that's okay. You can still do that now, but the data center would be stored. Now, the front doors are commonly in the States. And when I talk about front doors, I mean that's more the entry points for Office 365. And then they get routed to Canada based on your tenant. But no data is really going across it. It's more of a redirect. Processing is commonly also done within Canada, within the data centers that you are located in. And the other thing is data centers are constantly replicating between each other and are constantly flipping over. So it's jumping between servers all the time. But data residency is in Canada and data sovereignty is within Canada. And that's why Microsoft actually has a page of all the regulations it meets, and you can see, and it's gone out of its way to make sure. Now, the second question, the question of who has access to the data and so forth because of the platform. That question comes up a lot, and I can tell you off the bat, Microsoft doesn't have access to the data. So all data is encrypted, and the encryption is within your tenant. And this has been a big one. And if you actually Google it, you can see where even the FBI went to Microsoft at some point wanting data, and Microsoft said, we can't, we physically don't have the keys to access the data. Each tenant is locked to that tenant. So we can only take control of a tenant, but as per our policies, we don't do that unless you have a court order saying that must be happening. So when it comes to keys to the kingdom, Microsoft actually doesn't have access to the data. It has to, just like your admins would, it would have to create an account to log on to give themselves access to the tenant, and then only can they access the data. So yeah, when it comes to the cases with Germany and Europe, I know GDPR is very stringent on access and controls. From what I've been dealing with, and I used to work at Microsoft. I had a long career there. I can tell you that the common conception that Microsoft has access to your whole data at all times, no, it doesn't. Each tenant is sliced off, and each tenant is encrypted differently. So they would need to gain access to that tenant in order to get that data. Hope that answers that question.
No.
Yeah, it does. And then, yeah, the last part was just like, I guess for the first speaker about, if we are not using 365 and then we don't have resources to have the 365, a lot of what you're talking about in terms of cybersecurity practices, that first circle with all of the different vectors, all of that, I assume you could apply that to, say, an organization that uses primarily like G Drive or Google services and stuff like that. So maybe that was the other part, is like this stuff is both a practice and a platform. If I'm not, am I understanding correctly around sort of the cybersecurity for nonprofits?
Yeah, so all platforms offer security. When it comes to Cynet, Cynet is running on not only Office 365, it's running on your endpoints, right? So it's running on your workstations, it's running in your environment. So it's technology agnostic, really. Like Office 365 doesn't come into the play with Cynet necessarily. So whether you're running Google or Microsoft, or even running, a open version of some email client, you still have it running on the machine and protecting. And one of the things that I have to say about Cynet that, I can't even say about Microsoft, is, we advise a lot of our customers to get Cynet over Microsoft Defender because the SOC option. There is no product in the industry right now where you get eyes on glass. Even if you went through us and we deployed Defender out, you'd have to pay us or someone else to keep eyes on it or have an employee that monitors it. With Cynet, that's included. So yeah, you get tremendous value on that end.
Excellent. Thank you, Victor, and thank you, Brenna. That was wonderful. We've got one more question.
Sure.
This was just a general ask around AI policies for nonprofits. If you're looking for something more specific, again, we could perhaps ask. It was Kurt Veer's Swatch if they want to, if they're comfortable speaking, or can you respond to that just in general, Victor, or would you like to?
Sure. Yep, I can.
Okay, perfect.
And feel free to unmute if you want and talk. So AI is becoming a hot topic. Now, I purposely didn't include it in this one because it can be a topic all on its own. When it comes to AI, the message that I tell everyone is you have multiple platforms out there, but the only real AI that organizations should be using is Copilot. And the reason I say that is Copilot is the only AI offering that is currently guaranteed to not be peer reviewed or manual reviewed. It's your data. Nothing's being trained with it's all running within your tenant, and you get that private infrastructure for your tenant. And on top of that, you can do a pay for it yourself model, which is great because you can have the employees actually buy their own Copilot license rather than the organization having to do it. Now, when it comes to Purview and AI, the answer is yes. Purview can monitor AI usages. One of the great features that Microsoft saw, and they were one of the first products to actually monitor AI usage and even block it, is with Purview deployed and configured properly, you can see which employees are using AI, everything from ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Hugging Face, all the AIs out there. And on top of that, you can even block. So if an employee tries to copy and paste into ChatGPT or any of these AIs, it'll actually pop up with a message saying, this is currently not allowed by your security team. And on top of that, you can configure alerts. And it's just like anything else in Purview. It's tracked, a case is created, you can report on it, and you can see exactly what's happening in the organization and what exactly they tried to paste in, everything from text to even files.
Wonderful. Thank you, Victor. Much appreciated.
No problem.
We've got Pam from the ONN would like to say a few words. Go ahead, Pam.
Sure. Yeah, I just wanted to jump in to sort of add on to that AI question because that's something that we're getting a lot of. And so maybe like another topic to explore together. But also, we just put together some AI guidelines and just, we're looking forward to sharing that with the sector. But just to even preface, even before using any AI technology, there's a bunch of stuff that we were using that had AI capabilities already built in, and we didn't even know. And so we had to do sort of an internal audit to like, what are we using? What are the AI capabilities? Is there like a default on or a default off? And how do we want to navigate that? So that was really helpful if folks are thinking about like first steps. And then the second step was like, we looked around at a bunch of different AI policies and guidelines that already exist. We chose to go the guideline route because, as everyone on the webinar has already said, it's changing, that technology is changing so fast. It's so hard to keep up from a policy perspective. And for us, like it takes us, it's a governance piece, so it takes a while to pass. But guidelines are a bit more nimble and you can sort of go in and change them when you need to. So we made that decision. And then the third decision that we made was we crafted guidelines that worked for us. I know it's really easy and tempting to sort of copy and paste what's out there, but what I found was that a lot of the policies or guideline samples that existed automatically assumed you were going to just use AI full force, whereas we wanted guidelines that created more of an enabling and exploratory environment and a more critical environment around what we're using and how. And so just wanted to share those three nuggets. And if folks are interested, we're happy to share our internal like PDF document if that might be helpful for journeys that others are on.
No, that's great. Thank you so much, Pam, for sharing that. Wonderful. So I don't see any more questions coming through right now. So let's see. Okay, well, that brings us to the top of the hour, just a few minutes away. So yes, thank you again. Thank you to Pam, Kevin, and Victor, and everybody on the call today. We hope that you learned some very valuable insights, and we thank you again for joining us, and we will be in touch with next steps. We will definitely include a recording to this session. And as mentioned, if there's any other needs that you have that fall outside of what was even discussed today, we're happy to have a call with you to talk about any of your short and long-term needs. And yeah, Victor, Kevin, would you like to say a few words as well in closing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope. Go ahead.
ahead.
Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I was just going to say thanks again for having us here. It's my pleasure. Definitely, love to speak to these things, and it's an ever evolving industry. So keeping people up to date is, sort of a torch I bear, I suppose. Cynet's here to support MSPs like Sentia to really bring that value and cybersecurity, ease of mind to end users of all ages.
Perfect. Thanks, Kevin. Yep. I just want to close on, as Sarah mentioned, we're always here to help. We're always here to really assist. We're willing to always consult for free for the initial stages, help you guys get a footing. And then, of course, if you need further requirements or further assistance with any professional services, managed services, we are a one-stop shop for all your IT needs. Microsoft practice myself, we do everything from Office 365, security, data governance and compliance, and of course, AI as well. So that's just how I want to finish it off. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you, Victor. Yep. Thanks, everyone, again. We really appreciate your time. Take care.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you very much.